Hey guys, so I realized that I don't really introduce myself much anymore. So my name is Mandy and I make YouTube videos, and those are my only credentials, so I hope you're impressed. So today I wanted to talk about spiritual teachers, and this is one of my absolute favorite topics because it's like a riddle and it's like a mystery and it seems indirect, but in non-duality we can't directly talk about anything. So I'm not going to tell you who you should listen to and who you shouldn't. Ugh. And I'm not going to tell you that you have to resonate with everybody or have to dismiss everybody in the end or towards the end, because there's no rules. There's nothing you're going to get out of this video. My intention is only to show you the things that you might not see, and in your reactions to spiritual teachers who can be some of the greatest mirrors, because they assume to have or assume to be on the path or assume to have these secrets they can show you to what you want the greatest. And so the sense of self is going to jump in the way there in any way that it can. So I've noticed along the way how I've talked in previous videos. I've had my teacher series and I've talked specifically about some of my troubles reacting, like really strong reactions to teachers at first. And I've noticed this continue on. And you might find that after an awakening, you become way more open-minded to a ton of things and a ton of people who you previously dismissed completely. And you can, if you haven't had an awakening, you can move on by making the intention to be more open-minded and really give someone a chance, because it takes a little while to resonate with someone. And it takes a while in those first few minutes when you have that kind of gut feeling. So you need to honor the gut feeling, and you need to know where it's coming from, so it's so tricky. And as a woman, like, I've been taught where most enlightenment teachers are men. I see the first thing I judge about a man is, am I safe? Like, what is his objective with his words? And so you can see where the actual sense of, am I safe? Am I actually safe here? And the ego not feeling safe can get really confused. And for men, it's entirely different. And I have this come up with women where it's like, if you have this sort of competition survival instinct coming up. And this is completely not to be judged, because if you judge that, if you're like, ooh, I really wish that wasn't happening, I really wish I wasn't having those thoughts, you're disowning that. The other thing, so it could be completely that this person just threatens you or threatens your sense of self, or kind of like puts you on edge or puts you off in some way. And you see it, most people, like, if you watch people, most people are you can kind of, by watching them long enough, you can tell what personalities they're gonna jive with and what they aren't. And so, like, matchmakers are people who are really good at seeing this, or seeing like, oh, you should meet, or making interactions with people can be a really good people skill, because we know who we're gonna jive with and who we aren't. And with spirituality, all in the end, you're not going to resist any of it. And so some of the things that you were thought were just completely off, you're going to find yourself really resonating with later on. And there are no spiritual teachers, which explains this completely. So every spiritual teacher is given some sort of angle that they're, sorry, the wildlife spooks me sometimes around here, that they're given an angle that they are supposed to teach from, where they think of it, or nobody is really doing this. And so you're given a character, you're given a personality, But there's no outside of the story, this doesn't really exist. It's completely free. And so that's the paradox we're all trying to get, and that's not really what I'm supposed to be talking about here. But so every teacher is trying to point from some direction, some different direction. And it's directionless. So you have all kinds of pointers everywhere, and you have this puzzle and this forest of people. And so that's why it's really important to be a complete whore with the spiritual teachers you listen to and resonate with, and it will integrate among time. You will find the conflicts will just die and dissolve, and that kind of solves together, because there's nothing to get, there's nothing to understand, and no one can teach you anything. They can just show you what you want and show you things about yourself that are keeping you from the freedom, from the love that you wish to embody. And so, like I said, because spiritual teachers are the people who sort of like profess to have the keys to what we want the most, we react the strongest to them. And I never resonated with Neo-Advaita, but lately that's just seemed like the most freeing message in the world to me. And I love it, and it just makes me feel amazing. But I know that in the past, if I've stayed with those kind of teachings too long, that I'd end up in such a funk that I would have to go back to Abraham Hicks or something and kind of raise my mood and raise my engagement with life, because you cannot deny any part of it. You are fully thrown into life and yet completely detached from it, and it's just such an unbelievable paradox that it's impossible to explain. So you have all these people who are trying, right? And so there's no spiritual teacher, and it's, by your own intuition, like where you're supposed to go. But at the same time, if you have a gut feeling that something is off with somebody, you very well could be right. It's just that the misconception there is that they threaten you. So you may be right about something, but it's no threat to you whatsoever. And so it's getting sensitive to what's going on survivally. Like, is it a threat of competition? Is it that you just haven't integrated some other piece first and you need to come back to it? But usually what we do is we just bash the teacher and we say they don't get it or they don't understand this aspect of it. But there's no one there who could have gotten it. So why are you wasting your time? Don't waste your time making those kinds of judgments. And yeah, you can sense, and like I said, discernment's a huge part of it. But it's tricky. That's all I'm saying. It's really tricky. So watch yourself and realize, like, when you get another survival thing that can come up here is you start to feel safe with a teacher. And so this is when it starts to get religion, and you might find this incredible love and just this incredible connection and this incredible love just bubble up, and it seems like nobody is doing it whatsoever. That's real. And a lot of people will look at that with disgust and say, you shouldn't have a guru, or you shouldn't have that kind of devotion. Not everyone goes down the devotion road, but the devotion road is real, and love is love. And so when you have a love for the truth or what you're finding, sometimes that's sort of reflected onto somebody. Now, when the ego mind takes hold of this, and like I say, don't throw away your discernment because you need it. When the ego mind takes hold of this in itself and it has its favorite teacher and it really loves it, it starts to feel safe and secure. And so you might notice people who continually quote the same person or continually maybe parrot the same pointer or something. It's because they feel safe with that. They're not ready to move on to something different, and that's okay. But notice it within yourself when you start to feel really safe. And the one I got stuck with, that kind of, I spent so long with Jesus Christ being being my spiritual teacher, and then when I found and really resonated with Eckhart Tolle and the insights came, and just, this huge, like, rapid speed of growth occurred, I thought I'd found it. And so I felt safe there. And so the present moment turned into my next, like I had a belief in God. And so I'd finally let that go. And then I opened my mind up to Eckhart Tolle, and then the present moment, that was my new thing. And so letting go of that was hard, and it was also incredibly fruitful. And that happened at the same time that a whole lot of other insights rushed in. And the other really interesting thing is, so teachers have been a huge part of my path, and like looking at my past. Now, of course, this is all a story. And some teachers teach from the story, and they teach from within the story. You need to embrace and love the story and also take responsibility for it. But there's also, Advaita, that's showing you it's a story. It's showing that side. It's a story. You're living this story. You don't understand that Harry Potter is not good and Voldemort is not bad, but they are one in the story, in the author's mind. They're one in the imagination, in the mind of the author. So in my story and in your story, you may find why there's reasons in your childhood, reasons why this story is written, reasons why spiritual techniques resonate with you, that they do, that it's healing something, it's embodying something, it's, the one merging with the one again. And so in my childhood, I had a lot of male authority. The first examples of real authority figures were pastors who I did not feel safe with, and for good reasons, and later on ended up charged with certain crimes. And we all know the problems that go on in the Christian church when we make black and white between good and bad, and then what's repressed, what's resisted persists, and all of that, all of that. And so I inherently didn't trust that, inherently had a fear of men for various reasons. And so male teachers have been a huge part of my path, and having to kind of bring up this kind of love you see the survival things come up, you see attraction come up when it's not about that, you see the ego mind kind of like using these things to give it the power it needs to keep going, you see the sense of safety come up, you see the I'm not safe come up, and not letting you listen to someone who has a really threatening message. Jim Newman, I recently did not resonate with his just didn't resonate with it. And lately I watched his stuff, and it's just like amazes me. And he amazes me, like how I know it's not, and this is something in my past video that Phil told me, and that was a big insight. He's like, it's not, I keep talking about courage and bravery. And I need to make a video about Harry Potter and spirituality, because the theme of courage in Harry Potter has always been a big thing for me. But he said it's not courage, it's not even that. But it just seems like Jim Newman is just this incredibly courageous teacher. Like the way he says things without, I'd be like, I'm so, like feeling the reactions of people, like feeling awful about the reactions that I'd be getting, because it's just such a threatening message, and yet the courage that he has to say that is incredible. And yet at the same time, it's the same thing with Abraham Hicks, her courage, and like Phil said, it's not even courage. It's not. It's just, it's amazing. It's an amazing, beautiful landscape picture, and there's no spiritual teachers to even worship. This is all you. This is all within the story of consciousness. This is all the beauty that's here for you. And so every spiritual teacher, whether you resonate with them or don't, is a piece of the puzzle. And there's still some out there that I have not figured out. I have not figured out how they fit in, and I still can't figure out like why I'm triggered by them. But keep an open mind, because like I say, you can't throw out discernment, and you can't throw out that incredible resonating love that you feel sometimes. It's all okay. And we project, the biggest issue is that we think people are enlightened, or we think there are actual people in there. So you may realize the truth of no self, because within yourself, it's, I don't know, for me it's kind of obvious. But then other people are so convincing for me that, well, they're real, and I'm seeing that. Like, I don't see my face right now. Well, I do, because it's the camera, but normally I don't see my face in front of me. So how do I really know I have a face every moment? But when you see someone else, that's what you're seeing. And so we project our good and bad, what we want to gain from enlightenment, we want to see in the teacher. We want to see those aspects in them. And so peace and equanimity and those kind of things that we think we'd be better in the having of. We think if they really have something to share, well, they must have those, or they're not really there. But that's a desire of the ego, to have the peace and equanimity. The appropriate reaction in the moment is it's just happening. And it's very, it's just this. Like Jim Newman's message, it's just this. And so that's what's going on, is we're projecting what we want to get from enlightenment onto teachers. So that's the biggest trap of them all, really. So be wary of the survival, what's going on, because when we interact with people, when we see them, we constantly judge as if someone I like, someone who can help me in my survival, or someone who can hurt me. And then that psychologically carries on with a whole bunch of other judgments and habits that we so watch those happen. You are none of those, but as you see them and have them come up, that's how you really see through what's going on. So I hope that this was helpful, and I love to hear from you guys in comments. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.